well-loved Bible verse, Romans 8:28, reads like this: "For we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." This scripture reminds us that God sovereignly orders all the events in our lives in such a way that they ultimately bring us good, no matter how seemingly bad or difficult they might seem. Whenever I read that scripture, two friends come to mind. One of them told me that he was so glad the verse went on from "for the good of those that love God" and included "to those who have been called according to his purpose." He felt that if God's good flows only to those who love him, well, we'd all be in a mess, for our love is often cold, and perhaps especially when a trial comes upon us. But if God's good flows to those he has called, well, then we can be confident that it will flow to us all the time, for his calling, unlike our love, is steadfast. The other friend that comes to mind when I read this verse had lost her husband and was facing terminal cancer herself. She would say to my wife and I, "I'm resting in the armchair of Romans 8:28. In other words, I am comforted by the knowledge that the Lord, who has allowed these difficulties into my life, has my good at heart." And both of these believers, in their different ways, shed light on this well-loved verse. The first reminds us that no matter how poor a believer we might feel to be, God's goodness will still flow to us. And the second encourages each of us to rest peacefully in the armchair of God's good and gracious promises.